Good day, everyone. As I'm sure you're aware, the world is changing with each passing moment. By this point, many giant creatures that GeForce has classified as Kaiju have appeared in many cities and countries across the globe. Let me remind those of you returning, or explain to those who are new, that at GeForce it is our job to handle these creatures. Today, I will be presenting the 5 main creatures to be aware of. Kaiju Files number 001, codename Alpha. The origin of this creature dates back to October 1954, less than a decade after the end of the Second World War. 8 years prior, the United States was conducting experiments on nuclear weapons in the Bikini Atoll, a series of islands close to Japan. In the then present day of 54, a string of ship disappearances started turning up around the atoll. Investigations were performed on the island, and every interviewee responded with the same thing: a demon from their folklore. Eventually, these incidents started happening in Japanese waters, and soon enough led to the shores of the country. What the country wasn't expecting was the cause of this destruction. An American reporter named Stephen Martinez witnessed and reported on the incident firsthand. He described a reptilian creature standing 200 meters tall and had a tail the size of its body, and weighing 100,000 tons. This creature seemed to look like several species of dinosaurs, but mainly the Tyrannosaurus and Stegosaurus. The military threw everything they had at the beast: cannons, machine guns, tanks, what little planes they had left, and even their first line of defense. An electric fence powered by the entire city did little, if anything. It just kept moving. After the attack on Tokyo, the creature returned to the ocean, though the circumstances were unknown. Later, it was theorized that it came to Japan due to the nuclear radiation still plaguing the country at the time. Since then, this creature has been dubbed Gojira, localized as Godzilla. Additionally, the beast is referred to as the King of the Monsters, for reasons we will explain later on. Abilities for Godzilla are as follows: nigh invulnerability to conventional weapons, incredible strength in its legs, tail, claws, and jaw, a regeneration ability that acts slowly if caused significant damage, and gills to breathe and possibly live underwater. Additionally, the creature can emit a beam of pure radiation from its maw. This has later been dubbed the atomic breath. Future encounters have shown that Godzilla can also release a short-range nuclear pulse. However, it seems to be used more as a defensive move than pure combat. Weaknesses are very few, but an experimental plasma weapon dubbed the Maser Cannons have been able to stagger Godzilla, and any other kaiju like him. Ominously, however, after Godzilla's first appearance, many other creatures would soon follow, and humanity would struggle to see tomorrow. As of now, plans to counter Godzilla are underway. More information on these plans will be revealed at a later time. Kaiju Files number 002, codename Winds of Life. This specimen is thankfully not as hostile as Alpha, but is still not one to lower our guards to. First discovered in 1961, this creature is most blatantly described as a giant moth, standing 20 meters tall, 72 meters long, and has a wingspan of 250 meters. For the sake of convenience, the creature has been dubbed Mothra. Expeditions to a remote island in the Pacific Ocean have proven Mothra's existence throughout thousands of years. So much to the point where the natives worshipped it as a form of god, passing legends of Mothra having escaped death itself many times over. Even calling the creature a guardian of the earth, a sentiment not many people share, especially after Alpha's first appearance and Mothra's own little escapade. A corporate man by the name of Clark Neal came across a giant egg specimen. Seeing it as an opportunity for wealth, Neal presented the egg as a wonder of the world. Unbeknownst to him, Mothra flew into the city of Tokyo to retrieve the egg. Once it had arrived, 2 larval offspring emerged and the 3 made their way back to the island. Afterward, Clark Neal received a life sentence in prison for endangering human lives. He would later end his own in his prison cell. Mothra's physical abilities include flight, beating its wings so hard that it can destroy half a city, a form of silk or webbing it can spew from its mandibles, and compound vision like many insects. A particular note about Mothra's wings is that they can produce spores. These spores are poisonous to humans, animals, and interestingly, other kaiju. Most notably, they have been proven to be strong enough to incapacitate Godzilla on numerous occasions. Attempts to reproduce these spores synthetically have not been successful, but if there is a breakthrough, they will prove to be a valuable asset in battling kaiju. Miscellaneous abilities include an unknown energy beam from the antenna, as well as a combination of lepidopteran and vespid anatomy, including pointed limbs and a stinger that does not seem to detach like a regular vespid. For weaknesses, Mothra is unfortunately durable enough to withstand conventional weapons, but is theorized to not be as strong as Godzilla, although there is one that can be exploited. Mothra's method of cheating death was revealed to be laying an egg and larval offspring emerging. Essentially, Mothra is a title that is passed down from one generation to the next. However, should there be no egg before the adult perishes, Mothra would in all probability die for good. Given how Mothra has been seen saving humans, but with abilities that could just as easily destroy them, it is best not to drop our guards around the supposed deity. Kaiju Files number 003, codename Earthshaker. In 1955, Alpha was spotted again, this time on an uncharted island that no longer stands. There, a group of pilots found Alpha engaging in battle with another kaiju. This one resembled an ankylosaurus standing on all fours and briefly standing on its hind legs. Accounts report the creature standing up to 140 meters tall on all fours, 190 meters on its hind legs, and 260 meters long. Ironically though, it weighs 105,000 tons. Due to its physical appearance, the monster has been named Angiras. The pilots reported that their fight was brought into the water, and realizing Alpha can make landfall again, the entire city of Osaka was mandated to go into a blackout. Unfortunately, humanity is an ignorant species. It may have been a year since Tokyo, but a single event is all it takes to mentally fracture a psyche. A few citizens who mentally snapped from Alpha's first appearance assembled at a refinery. A few workers who were unfortunate enough to still be working there caught them in the act of starting a fire, and the fire itself attracted both kaijus ashore, where they fought once again. When Angiras and Alpha fought, they moved on to Osaka Castle, where both kaiju battled to a stalemate. They were too exhausted to continue, so they went into the ocean and swam their separate ways. Before the island that Angiras was spawned on sank into the sea, another expedition was conducted in 1959. This revealed that Angiras was in the same category as Mothra, a guardian of the earth. However, there were no signs of worshippers left on the island, theorizing they died out centuries ago. Interestingly, some markings indicate that Angiras was not the only one worshipped as a god on that island. Information on these other specimens will be released at a later time. Fortunately, some good came out of this battle for the future. Most importantly, how this new kaiju behaves. Angiras possesses a carapace riddled with spikes on top of its body. It proved to be a good defensive tool, withstanding Alpha's atomic breath, not even having so much as a scratch on it. Angiras can also curl into a ball, much like an armadillo or a pangolin. This maneuver is also where the spiked carapace has another use. By taking a running start, Angiras can use the momentum to act like wheel sorts, shredding through the terrain and possibly the opposition. Angiras also possesses incredible strength, being able to cause earthquakes, and can also burrow underground for sneak attacks. Weaknesses are next to non-existent, as its durability is on par with Alpha. Maser weapons have proven to show the same results as Alpha. After the mentally disturbed were brought into custody, they proclaimed this world is not for humans. Since then, they have been kept in mental hospitals receiving the best of care. Although, on a personal level, it may be for naught. But back to the subject at hand, unlike Winds of Life, where there is a glimmer of hope after its first appearance, Angiras is proven to be just as deadly as Alpha. Kaiju Files number 004, codename Winged Mercury. In 1956, Japan was beginning to show signs of getting back on its feet. Cities were rebuilt with the help of foreign nations and the establishment of GeForce, the official military branch to counteract kaiju threats. However, Japan was not the only country to house kaiju. That same year, a team went on an expedition to Isla Ascuas on the Mexican coast. A volcanic expedition team had called in the newly formed GeForce to examine an unusual find: a large egg at the base of a volcano. GeForce immediately extracted the egg from its burrow and returned it to Japan for further research. Unfortunately, after scanning the egg numerous times, it began hatching. Out of the shell came what only could be described as a pterosaur. As if anything could be stranger than that, the creature let out a strange radiation reading. This led to the creature being classified as Rodan, in reference to a substance known as radon. It didn't take long for the pterosaur to escape and flee to Mount Fuji. It would be 3 months later and Rodan was fully grown, standing 50 meters tall with a wingspan of 300 meters and weighing somewhere around 40,000 tons. Rodan's abilities include, but are possibly not limited to, flight due to its pterosaur anatomy, incredible wing strength being able to destroy an entire city, a thick hide of scales that are resistant to volcanic temperatures, and durability on par with Alpha. Additionally, the creature has been shown firing a strange beam of pink energy from its beak-like mouth. This attack has since been dubbed the uranium beam on accounts of it leaving uranium radiation wherever it strikes. On many occasions, Rodan has fought against and alongside Alpha, making this kaiju difficult to understand. Perhaps it only allies with those who are the strongest for its own survival. Should that be the case, Rodan takes a high priority level. Furthermore, its turncoat nature may prove to be the creature's undoing one day. Kaiju Files number 005, codename Monster Zero. A decade after Alpha made itself known to the world, humanity began to discover the possibilities of space traveling. The idea was for a planetary evacuation if kaiju were to destroy human civilization around the world. However, an expedition into the Arctic Circle shook the world's very foundation. Beneath the ice and snow sat what could only be described as a three-headed golden dragon, standing 240 meters tall, with a wingspan of 477 meters, two tails that ended in spiked club shapes, and estimated to weigh 150,000 tons. Scientists have originally dubbed the creature Monster Zero, due to potentially predating Alpha. One day, Monster Zero began showing signs of life and unleashed its true powers. The base that had been constructed to monitor and contain the beast was no more after Monster Zero escaped. Once it did, for an unknown reason, it came to Japan. That was where Alpha and Monster Zero dueled for the first time. Alpha's instincts were acute, but Monster Zero was too unpredictable. Both made a final clash with energy beams. Alpha was nearly defeated, but proved itself superior over Monster Zero. This feat earned this kaiju the title similar to Alpha's. Its official name was later changed to King Ghidorah, but after their fight, Alpha was crowned the true king of the monsters. Refocusing on Monster Zero, its powers are almost nothing new compared to the others so far despite its stature. As indicated by the wings, the beast is capable of flight, though exact speeds are unknown. Unlike Mothra or Rodan, however, whenever this creature was in flight, the winds it created were akin to a Category 5 hurricane. As for the aforementioned energy beams, Monster Zero emits lightning bolts from all three of its mouths, which can be concentrated into one singular beam. Most peculiarly, while they are by now confirmed to be lightning, they have another effect. Reviewing video evidence also confirms that this attack increases the gravity around the target at an accelerated pace. The attack has since been dubbed the gravity beams. After the fight, Monster Zero's DNA was recovered and examined by the smartest minds that the United Nations and GeForce had to offer. However, there was one conclusion that no one wanted to admit. It was possible that Monster Zero is not of this world, meaning that no matter what humanity does, there is no escape from imminent destruction. On that bleak note, we come to the end of today's presentation. Rest assured, GeForce is developing the most advanced weaponry with the assistance of the United Nations. We will not allow ourselves to be driven into extinction. If you have any questions, you may ask them now. Otherwise, you are dismissed.